Hello and welcome back to my channel, Bookish Lady Night, where we get a look behind the book. Today, I'm joined by a new author to me, Rebecca Cuthbertson, and she is the author of Waves of Undead, and book one is called Undead Waters. And so I'm really excited to hear about her because this is a new kind of genre for me to test out and get to know and probably fall in love with because I love reading. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Of course. So this is a sci-fi horror thriller type book with a subplot of romance. Can you kind of give us a little, I guess, elevator pitch to let us know what it's about?
Yeah, so it's about a zombie apocalypse and a tsunami that strike simultaneously in the shores of Tofino, which is Canada's surfing capital. So you've got some fun surfer vibes there. And then it follows twins Paul and Anna Zeusen as they try to maintain contact during the zombie apocalypse. Anna has traveled to Tofino to try to rekindle romantic relationships. So it's a lot of balls in the air and chaos.
So how did you come up with the idea? Where did this journey start for you?
Yeah, so growing up, I watched my brother play a lot of zombie video games and ended up giving me zombie nightmares for decades. And then I moved to Tofino, which is primarily where the story takes place. And I just always had this thought of like, what would a zombie apocalypse look like here where I live? And yeah, so I decided to translate that into my story.
So did you want to be a writer? Did it happen just kind of spontaneously, or was it something you always wanted to do?
I did dabble a little bit in writing creatively, like in elementary school and high school, but it was never something I really envisioned as like a goal for my life. In
Mhm.
my 20s, though, my best friend, she told me, you should be an author. I guess that idea kind of just like the gears started turning then. And a couple of years later, I started writing. But I've always enjoyed like creative storytelling, whether that's through like cosplay or little film projects or things like that.
It. So, how long did it take you to write this book from when you started to like when you published it?
It was about 10 years, very on again, off again. I would kind of shelf the project for 3 to 9 months at a time and then pick it up again. But I'd say like the latter half of that, it was a bit more consistent. But yeah, 10 years, hopefully a lot shorter for the next one.
Wow. So, what's your plans for the series that without spoiling it? Like how many books we're gonna get and
Yeah. So yeah, Waves of Undead is the first book. I'm working on Depths of Undead right now. That'll be book two. I'm planning on having about three novels and two-ish novellas attached because it's multi-point of view. So I get lots of side characters that I get attached to that might not necessarily be a part of the main story arc, but I want
Mhm.
to explore where they go further.
It's really cool. So, when you're coming up with this fictional world in a real place, how was that with the world building?
I think it made it a bit easier for me than like creating something from scratch because I could actually just go like either look at pictures or just recall on my memory. But yeah, I'm very familiar with kind of the flora and fauna of the area. So I would just, yeah, visualize that. And yeah, I'm a nature girl. So
Yeah.
it was fun to write about that. And then the added element of danger on top of it was fun to explore.
Yeah. So how did you do that when you were writing the dialogue and balancing, this real world that you're making kind of a fake world within it? How did you go about, keeping that balance?
Yeah, so I usually write a lot of the dialogue first, and then I go in and add kind of the visual descriptors after of like where they are. Yeah, it's kind of hard in the beginning for me to balance that. I'm always very dialogue heavy first, and then go in afterwards and make it more sensory.
Okay. Do you
Yeah.
feel like okay, there's a new term that I'm going to use here because I thought it was fascinating. I was at an author signing and this person that was interviewing them asked this question. And so now I've added to my little list. So normally there's a plotter and a pantser, but I just heard about one called a quilter and they can write out of order. So they don't write linearly. They go and they jump in wherever they have an idea and they're able to keep the story going. So where do you fall on the line of the type of writer?
Before I would have said pantser or discovery writer, as I've also heard it called. But now that I hear about quilter, that's probably more aligned to the way I write because I mostly wrote like linear, pantsing it. But then in book two, I've written one character's arc almost fully. And then I'm going back and doing the other character's arcs. because they won't really intercept until kind of the climax.
Okay.
But yeah, with Waves of Undead, I definitely quilted pieces together because I'd be like, okay, I have a lot going on, but I need to show more of the tsunami. So I'd go back in and like write another character into the tsunami. It's sort of, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So within your characters, who was the hardest for you to write?
Probably in the book I'm working on right now, the sequel, there's a character named Priya, and she's very scientific and a lot smarter than I am. So it's like trying to get this like medical mindset has been a challenge, and I don't even fully know what her job description is yet. I'm still
Okay.
discovering that. But yeah, trying to write characters with a medical background or like a very analytical personality because I'm more of like a creative daydreamer.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That would be I feel like that would be really hard. That would be like learning a language and you have like a day to learn it and like
yeah,
no book to do so. So,
right.
yeah, I'm the same way. I'm definitely a creative brain. The other side of my brain, that doesn't compute.
Yeah, same.
So on the flip side, who has been the character that's come the easiest to you?
Probably Skylar. He's been like a lot of fun. He's like surfer next door. He just wants to like drink beers around the campfire and have a good time. And he's very resourceful during the zombie outbreak. So he's been a lot of fun to explore. And yeah, he's
Okay.
my personal favorite.
I like that. So you Skylar. So out of your other characters that you can tell us about, because I don't want any to have to spoil anything, can you kind of give us their like top four attributes that we would know what they are about, kind of?
So Anna, she's my main protagonist. She's going through the grief of the loss of her mother, who she had a strained relationship with, and she is also trying to rekindle that relationship with Harvey, who she kind of walked out on a year previous. So she's tired. She's very sad, but she's got a lot of drive in her to figure out what the heck's going on and survive.
Yeah.
And then her brother Paul, he's very protective. He's looking out for his girlfriend. He's looking out for his sister, who's hundreds of kilometers away. Also resourceful. And yeah, who else do I have? Kat. She's very catty, as her name implies.
Yeah.
um, yeah, there's a lot of characters.
I like that. I like that. So you mentioned side characters that you
Mm.
can't necessarily leave out in the wind. Which one has stuck with you the most?
Honestly, I'm very excited to explore Kat's arc. She's one that I'm 95% sure she's not going to be returning in the second or third book, but I'm really excited to explore like where she ends up and how she continues fighting the zombies and fighting for survival. She's on Vancouver Island. A lot of the story takes place on the island, but also on the mainland in little suburbs kind of outside of Vancouver, British Columbia. So I'm excited to explore Kat surviving kind of central Vancouver Island.
All right. So what does a typical writing day look like for you? Is there like any like rituals or routines that you have to do or you're just not in the zone if you don't?
Yeah, so it looks very different now than it did in the first book. First book, I would always write before work. I'd get up at like 4 or 5 a.m. to get an hour of writing in before starting my like day job. But now in book two, I'm a stay-at-home mom by day, author by nap time. I literally just like grasping at straws when he's sleeping, trying to get my words in. And we co sleep. So I'm like cuddled up next to him with my phone, just little thunder thumbs on my cell phone. But so it's challenging not having the freedom of sitting at my computer desk. But I know that that's a fleeting chapter in our lives. And I'm still getting the work done.
Yeah. Also, it's a good time. Cherish it because then you're gonna have like an 11-year-old that's telling you, "Stop giving you a hug. It's embarrassing. Don't talk to me about it." So
Yeah.
that's very nice.
Yeah,
So I miss those days. They're very fun.
for
So cherish them.
sure.
That's good that you're still writing. You're still being creative in a way that you can with your phone and not
Yeah,
letting it go to the wayside. So that's always good.
absolutely.
So have you struggled at all with writer's block?
Yes, definitely. I think a part of that, why it took me 10 years for the first book, is probably a lot to do with writer's block and just
Mhm.
not really understanding the craft and having like a plot that I was following at the time. And right now, I'm actually going through writer's block a little bit as well. It's not so much of a block as like taking a breather 'Cause I'm about 50,000 words into the second book, and then I realized, like, I need to do some huge timeline shifts and huge character shifts, so I guess that's part of the downfall of being a discovery writer is, like, yeah, having to kill a lot of darlings, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I've taken a breather for a couple of weeks, and I'm feeling ready to get back at it, and I find that when writer's block strikes, it helps to take a bit of a either a creative break or creative pivot.
Mhm.
So when I was trying to get into writing the sequel, I made a background for my cell phone that looks kind of like what I want the cover to look like. So yeah, just having like something to inspire me to keep working at it that I have to look at every day is
Yeah,
helpful.
that's really good. So, have you struggled with burnout at all since you've been writing?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with like, trying to do all the promoting. I guess coming into it, I had no idea how much time that would actually take up. So yeah, like the social media burnout hits me more than like the writing burnout, I would say.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I kind of ebb and flow with, either I'm posting 5 times a week or you might not hear from me for 2 weeks.
Yeah, finding the balance. So, with it being a subplot of romance, is your story considered new adult or adult?
I would call it adult just for the graphic nature of the horror and the gore that's
Mhm.
within the books, but that said, I've had readers from 11 to 81, so it's
Okay.
hard to nail a exact demographic, but it was definitely written for an adult audience. And
Okay.
the romantic subplots, there's no spice. There's one kiss and one, like, closed door spice scene between 2 very unexpected characters. Yes, and I'm not gonna guarantee anybody gets a happily ever after.
Yeah. Oh, that's the first time I've heard that in a story. So that would be interesting. So you don't know who's gonna make it, and so we're on our toes. I like that. I like that. So,
Yes, yes,
what
definitely.
inspired you for, or is there other genres that you are interested in writing after this one, or is this kind of like your niche where you want to stay?
I'm actually a fantasy girly at heart. Grew up with Lord of the Rings, and on the other side of my wall here, I have a bunch of like Ren Fair fairy wings on the walls. Yeah, I definitely would love to explore fantasy in the future, but it'll probably be a little bit of dark fantasy because I can't
Sure.
get that little bit of darkness out.
Yeah. So then, what are your favorite tropes to read?
Favorite tropes to read is probably
Mhm.
found family. I just love when you get a group of strangers together and they're, against all odds, they're what if they were fighting for survival or they're exploring the world and just seeing how their personalities come out and shine and they get to know each other. That's a fun one.
Yeah. So is that also your favorite one to write, or do you have another one that's your favorite to write?
One that I had fun writing in Waves of Undead was actually genre blindness. So it's like in the typical zombie book or movie or whatever, people don't know what zombies are. They don't know that it's okay, you're gonna have to have a headshot to take them down, that kind of thing. So
Mm.
I had my own kind of spin on that where not every character experienced genre blindness. It was more like depending on their age group or like how familiar they are with zombie media, they might know and they might not. So the characters who are familiar with it, they call them zombies. They know how to take them down. And then there's children who are, oh, there's monsters. The monster got mommy, sorry. And then there's some elderly folks that are saying, oh, demons are running amok. So that was a fun
Okay.
one that I had. Yeah, I explored in a different way.
Yeah. So with there being more of a graphic or horror aspect to this story, what was it like writing those scenes? Did you struggle with it? Was it easy to come by, or what did you research, or how did that process go?
Yeah, I did struggle with one in particular that had, like, some eye gore that it literally, like, made me feel squeamish every time I worked on it, and I found it challenging to write the ones where there was lots of characters at play, so, like, the initial outbreaks where it's like, okay, there's a few zombies, but there's, like, crowds of people. It's like, okay, how are you keeping all of those people in motion and writing cohesively about it? I found very challenging. As far as the gore itself, I did do some research on just, some body parts, but I only go, like, super descriptive a few times. I'd say it's kind of horror light with a few squeamish scenes.
Okay. So is for someone who's new to the genre, it's a good book to touch on to get your feet wet before you want to dive into. really
Yeah.
graphic.
Yeah. I like to think so. Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite chapter or scene in this book? Or you could tell us the chapter or maybe a line from it that you really like.
Yeah, I love the prologue, and I know some people are anti-prologue, but I do a flash forward prologue where you get to see a character actually surfing the tsunami. He's sort of made this decision. He's terminally ill, and he's made this decision of like, I'm not going to try and run. I'm too tired. I'm just going to go and ride the big one. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that was a lot of fun to write. And I also I was getting so crazy about it in the beginning. I was trying to picture like how big is this wave? Like I was wanting to build a 3D model to see like how far up the elevation the wave would go and stuff like that. And finally I was like, no, just do some like basic research. Don't build a 3D model.
That would have been cool though. You could have like shared that on social media. That would have been so cool.
Totally. Maybe someday it'll be like a Waves of Undead collective piece or
Yeah,
something.
you could. That would be really cool. You could make it like a book end for your books.
Yeah. Hey, I
And
like
like, yeah,
that.
I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, now that 3D printers are, like, more prevalent, I could look into that more realistically.
Yeah, that would be really cool. You could have zombies on one side and then like the big wave on the other, and your books could sit in the middle. I can see it on a
Yes.
bookshelf. That would be really
Very
cool.
cool.
I like that. So within your story, there's not necessarily a villain, so to speak, or is there? Is there something that causes this to happen, like man-made, or is it just it happens? Is that spoiling if you share?
Yeah, no, I can, we can tread those waters a little bit. So there's this vial that washes on shore, and it's filled with this purple goo. And coming into contact with this substance is what actually is turning people into the zombies. So in book 2, we're going to explore a bit more what this substance is and where it came from, why it washed up on shore. But yeah, yeah, it could either be a bioweapon or science gone wrong. People have to read book 2 to find out.
Mystery is afoot. I like that.
Yes.
When you are writing, is there any art or things that you do around you to help with your writing, whether it be music, going to an art museum, watching horror films? Like, what is your process to help inspire you?
Yeah, I do listen to music before I start writing and while I'm writing. So I have a playlist for Depths of Undead where I have like 3 to 5 songs per character. So depending on whose character point of view I'll be writing that day, I'll listen to their songs to kind of get in the zone. And
Mhm.
then I'll find more of an atmospheric playlist to listen to while I'm writing. So there's a really good one that I love on Spotify that's like underwater horror, and it's just really like eerie, and that gets me in the zone for writing those scenes. And then I do try to watch like zombie movies, on a sort of a monthly basis or so to just keep it fresh in the mind. Yeah, and for Waves of Undead, I did watch, because of the tsunami, I watched the movie The Impossible probably like a dozen times to get that visual in my mind. And there's not a ton of, or at what the time that I was writing it, there wasn't a ton of tsunami media. There's more on Netflix these days, but yeah, that one was my go-to.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. So, what are some of your favorite reads that you are like go to for you or authors?
Yeah, I've really been into Darcy Coates lately. Recently, I read her story From Below, which is like scuba diving horror. It's phenomenal, as well as Dead of Winter. That was another of hers that was really entertaining. I love C.G. Drew's Don't Let the Forest In and Hazel Thorns. So I'm looking forward to their upcoming releases, and they've become an auto read author for me. Daniel Krause's Whale Fall I'll never forget that book, and I can't wait for the movie to come out. I'm so excited to see that on screen.
That's awesome.
And then, of course, like Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien and
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
George
that.
Martin's writing has a huge influence on the way I did like my multi-point of view chapters. Mine are much shorter than his. They're called potato chip chapters, but yeah, he was a big influence for me, even though it's totally different genres.
I like that. I actually just got Don't Let the Forest In.
Nice.
Um, and it has sprayed edges. It was like at the store and I was like, "Ooh, that looks really pretty." I have no idea what it's
Beautiful.
about. I'm gonna read it. So that'll be
Yeah.
interesting. I'll get now I know that it's a good book. I'll read it and add
Yeah.
that in my mind.
I've heard
Um,
the paperback or the printed version has beautiful artwork in it as well, which I didn't get. I listened to the audiobook, so I gotta grab a copy of
yeah.
the paperback as well.
So you picked this location because you'd moved there. So, what was it like when you were first in this new city and exploring it? How did that process go for you as being, transplanted to a new area?
Yeah, so, I had been traveling to Tofino, already through my teen years with my family, so I was familiar with the area. Yeah, it's like rugged British Columbia West Coast with, surfing, hiking, fishing, like all of the outdoorsy things, so it was really, nice to be immersed in that. 'Cause I grew up in, Ladner, which is a suburban town outside of Vancouver and also one of the locations in Waves of Undead. To go from a suburb to more of like a rugged, just foresty terrain was, really kinda spoke to my soul. I love the forest and the beach, so
Yeah. So,
yeah.
what's your favorite outdoor activity that you do while you're there?
It would be hard between surfing and hiking, but probably more hiking more
Mm,
often, and
yeah.
just, like, foggy walks on the beach, that was one of my favorites.
That would be cool for scene writing, I think, too. Creepy stuff coming
Mhm.
out of the fog and coming out of the
Right.
water, and you're like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
So, that's really cool. So, what was the process like for the cover? Did you enjoy that process? Was it overwhelming?
I really enjoyed the process. I had sort of a terrible little thumbnail sketch drawn that I gave my cover designer. She
Mhm.
was Night Sky Graphics on Instagram. But yeah, I loved the entire process of like going back and forth and tweaking things a little bit. And it came out like almost to a T, like what I was sort of envisioning, plus like her adding sort of the depth of the water on over top of the font and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just thrilled with how it came out. So I'm excited to explore
Yeah.
the next one.
It's cool, I like it. I think that's a really pretty cover.
Thank you.
So when you are planning now or when you started, did you do, because I see the pictures behind you, did you make like mood boards or did you sketch out what you were thinking of for your scenes as you're writing? I know you said you did the phone um, collage as a background, but were there any other things that you did to help with your creative process?
Not so much. The art behind me is more recent character art that I've commissioned, so I kind of got that after launch, so for the next book, I'll definitely look at getting character art before launch. But as far as mood boards go, I haven't really put them together for my writing so much, like, I do put them together for the artists when I'm asking for certain vibes, but, yeah, I haven't done that too much for writing itself.
But with your book, what was the key things that you loved about the book, the story, as much as you can tell us, or the characters? Like, what is your draw to your story?
Just that envisioning, like, a zombie apocalypse where I live, it's something that I've always, like, pondered, like, what would you do if this happened? And growing up in the Vancouver area, it's what's known as, like, Hollywood North because there's so many films that are, filmed here and TV shows and stuff as well, so they're usually depicting cities in the States. So to sort of bring forward that, like, what would that look like here? But then envisioning like maybe there'll be a film adaptation someday and maybe it will be filmed here and it will be like the actual locations but like filmed on this location, like that was kind of a big dream of mine during this process.
Yeah.
And then as far as the characters go, the protagonists are the twins Paul and Anna, and that was sort of a nod at my brother and my relationship.
Mhm.
He was a big influence on inspiring this zombie journey for me, being that he introduced me to the video games at a young age, and then I had nightmares for decades. He told me I have a problem, and I said, you caused that problem.
Has he read this?
Yes, yeah, he's a huge fan. I have some hoodies that have some character art of a surfing zombie, and he just wears it all the time. He's so
Oh,
supportive. Yeah,
that's really, really cool. Yeah.
yeah.
So, how are you celebrating your milestones? Or are you celebrating your milestones?
Not as much as I should, but the big one that stands out is the day that I sent the manuscript to the printer, my mom and I went out for pannenkoeks, which are Dutch pancakes. They're like the size of a dinner plate, but they have like either sweet or savory toppings cooked into them. So that was a big celebration for us because she was super supportive during this process as well. Like she did a lot of the formatting and proofreading and editing and stuff like that. So yeah, she's been super helpful. So it was, yeah,
Oh,
a lot
that's
of fun.
awesome. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I love hearing when it's like the family helping and everybody's working together because when you're an indie author, it's difficult because you're wearing all of the hats and doing all the things, and a lot of the time you're doing it by yourself. So,
Yeah. Yeah, there's you don't know until you know, like, there's so many little side quests and things to do, and, yeah, I've been very blessed to have a very supportive, family and friend group of, people who have helped with beta reading and sensitivity reading, and even, like, "Here's a sample of 10 different fonts, tell me which is your favorite." Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's been a
So
lot.
what's been the most surprising thing about, self-publishing that you didn't expect?
I guess the cost, because there is so many little costs, and it's like you can put as little or as much as you want into it. You can make your own covers in Canva, or you can hire a designer to do it for $5,000. So it's really just such a choose your own adventure. But yeah, not having any idea of how many little details and what the upfront costs would be. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun journeys. Like I do enjoy those little side quests and making those decisions and things.
Yeah. Do you think you'll ever do, like, a special edition with edges and doing something fun like that?
I hope to. I'm thinking I might not do it like for each book, but at the end, once I've finished the series, I want to do an omnibus
Mhm.
and then, yeah, have them all available in one and maybe include some of the character art and the sprayed edges. Yeah, that would be just such a
Okay,
dream.
that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite beverage or snack while you're writing?
So because I'm usually lying
Yeah.
next to my son, I don't get anything, but, if I was able to sneak away to the couch or if it was a typical day, I'd say, probably like a cup of coffee and some peanut butter toast.
So, with your story, how are you handling the trigger warnings or the more sensitive topics? How was that process?
Yeah, it was hard to, like, go back and think of them. I wish that I had kind of taken notes on it as I wrote, just to go back and be like, "Did I get everything?" Like, you wanna make sure that you're sensitive to that, right? But
Mhm.
at the beginning of the book in the front matter, I have, like, a short list of content warnings, and then it refers people to the back of the book for a fuller list, and
Mhm.
that way it's like, if there is anything that's treading on spoiler territory, if people don't think that they need to look at it, then they don't have to, but if people wanna make sure, then they can, yeah, definitely check out that
Okay,
list.
yeah. Do you have a moment that you can recall where you felt really proud that stands out, whether it be, a certain part of the book or finishing the book, or maybe if you've been out and you've met a fan? Is there anything like that that you can recall?
Yeah, I'd say finishing the book was huge. Cause being so on again, off again, it was like, "Will I ever get it done?" And then it was also getting it done while I was pregnant and after I'd had the baby. So before I had my son, I thought I'd finished it and said, "This is done." But then I didn't do anything with it until he was almost a year old. And then I was like, "Okay, we're gonna revive this." And I was like almost ready to go to the press. I was like, "Let me give it one more round of edits." And one more round of edits went to 12 more rounds of edits, and then it was done. So that moment of like 10 years of work, all those mornings waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. to work on this, like it's just such a relief. And to see something like tangible come from all of those hours is a pretty amazing feeling.
Yeah, it is. You wrote a book. You have it in your
Yeah.
hand,
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of words. So
Yes.
that's definitely a big accomplishment. So do you feel like energized when you're writing or exhausted? Like, is there a balance or is there one that you more lean towards?
I think right now it's more exhausted, just in the way that I am writing. Once I get back to writing at a desktop computer, it might be a little bit different. But just the way I'm like lying in a dark room next to my son, it's not very cohesive to being energized.
Yeah.
But I typically get in a writing session. It's small potatoes, but like 500 words. So I see people with those like 2 to 3,000 word counts per session. I'm like, that would be nice. But I'm proud of my little 500 word
You are,
increments.
you should. You're adapting to the situation and you're not letting it sit. You're keep
Yes,
moving forward. And that's good. That's
exactly.
really important because then
Thank you.
you keep propelling yourself and then one day you'll be able to get like 2000 words done in a sitting.
Totally.
Yeah, it's totally every little bit. Even if you write a sentence, like it's all going towards your books.
Exactly.
What do you feel is like your writing kryptonite?
I would say, social media is a big one. That little, like, dopamine pull of like, "Oh, let's just check this out." But, Yeah, I'd say another one is shiny object syndrome. I have so many creative projects that I wanna do, like other books, I have ideas for podcasts and YouTube channels and photo shoots I wanna do, and it's just like, "Okay, just rein it in." You Everybody only has a finite amount of time, but especially as, like, a stay-at-home mom who's working on nap time, like, just
Yeah.
focus on this project, and I allow myself to, do the odd short story here and there, or I'm starting to, just to kind of give myself a creative breather. And those smaller short stories, you can kind of feel like, okay, I've accomplished this in between the longer story that's taking me years to make me.
I just that same author signing that I asked that question about the quilter, the one of the authors there said she bought this thing and I was like, "That's genius." It's like this little magnetic box and you put it next to your phone. It has an app. You pair it with your phone and then you hit the center of the button or something like that. You leave it on your refrigerator and then you go walk away and your phone doesn't like work like for going
Nice.
on any social media app. Like you can tell it which apps to block.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting in your office and you're on your phone, you can't go on anything unless you physically walk your phone back over there to unlock it. I was like, "That's a really good idea."
I need to look into this. Thank you, because I've been wondering about that. Like I put the social media like timers on my phone and it's like, you've gone through your 15 minutes today. I'm like, haha, yeah, right. Like
Yeah.
just click a button and it's gone, right?
Yep. And so
Yeah.
I was like, "That's interesting because I doom scroll and it's so bad. I'm like, I could have used this time to, like edit a post or like write some chapters or like do all these things because we're so like it's always in our face. Like I
Yeah.
thought that that was a really cool. So whoever invented that type of software, genius, genius thing.
Totally. I'm
So
gonna look into that. Thank you.
I like that. I thought it was really cool. So if you could go in a time machine back in time and talk to your younger writing self, what would you tell yourself knowing what you know now?
Keep going and don't be afraid of failure and don't be afraid of success. Because that was definitely a big blocker as to why I didn't publish sooner. Yeah, just, the unknown. How are people going to receive it? Is there going to be a witch hunt after I write about places I've actually lived when people are, you shouldn't write about zombies here? Like, just let it go and say what you have to say and tell your story.
Yeah, that's good advice. So then, while you're back in time with your younger writing self, what would they tell you after seeing how you are now? What would they say or think?
No, I'm scared. I had a lot of anxiety in my 20s, so I think that that was probably holding me back as well. I guess I only did it on the timeline that I could have, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would want her just to know.
Do you think she would recognize you now?
I think she would be surprised at where and who I am now, but not unhappy about it.
Okay. So I thought we could do a little would you rather. These are always fun. So would you rather read a physical book, an audiobook, or an ebook?
These days, I'm audiobook. Just that's the time I have with the kiddo. So, when I'm doing dishes or if I'm walking the dog on my own, then audiobook or while he's falling asleep. But traditionally, I like physical books.
Yeah. Okay, this one's painful. I've been told I'm mean, but I'm going to ask it. Would you rather crack the spine of a paperback book or ruin the dust jacket on a hardback?
Ruin the dust jacket. Maybe this is a hot take. I hate dust jackets.
Would you rather have dinner with your favorite character or your favorite author?
I think my favorite author, because my favorite character would be a lot of fun, but my favorite author, I think I could learn a lot.
Who is that? If you could,
J.R.R. Tolkien.
yeah, yeah, he
Yeah.
would. Oh yeah, so cool. That'd be so
Yeah.
cool. Especially like how the heck you came up with that
Yeah.
huge world and language and all of the things. Like, what?
Yeah.
I want to know like fully if he was a planner or a pantser, like where he fell into like the writing. Like
Yeah.
that would be really cool to like dive deep
Yeah.
into his
I feel
story.
like he would maybe be, I don't know, it's hard to say, a bit of both, because when he wrote The Hobbit originally, the ring wasn't the Ring of Power. So after he started Lord of the Rings, he had to go back and change The Hobbit to
Yeah.
make it like, yeah,
So he's
yeah,
probably
it's
more like
interesting.
a discovery writer.
Could be.
Maybe. Yeah. It'd be cool to pick his brain for sure. So would you rather read I have to broaden it because you told me a little teaser of that. So would you rather read fantasy, romantasy, or romantic horror suspense?
Romantic horror suspense, definitely these days. I have dabbled in romantasy a little bit and I've enjoyed some. I want to enjoy it more, but yeah, I'm more of the romantic horror is more my vibe. I
You
need a
like
little
more of the
more edge.
action and
Yeah.
have you read the books like Butcher and Blackbird that have like the gore and the romance all in one?
Not yet, not yet. And so far it's more like, yeah, Don't Let the Forest In. What did I just finish reading? Together We Rot. It's kind of like light on the romance, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Would you rather reread your least favorite book every month or never read your favorite book again?
That's hard, but I would never read my favorite book again. I wouldn't wanna torture my they'd both be torture, but I
Yeah,
wouldn't wanna
do
torment
that. Yeah.
myself with the other
I
one.
wouldn't want to read again. That would be painful. It's like, ooh. Would you rather coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Okay. And what's your coffee beverage of choice?
If I'm going out, I'm all about a mocha or a latte, but at home, it's typically black or bulletproof, so, like, blended with butter.
Read the book first or watch the movie first?
Read the book first. They typically have more detail. You get in the character's head more. Yeah.
Would you rather a sunny day or a rainy day?
I appreciate both, but I like a sunny day. I get more energized.
Yeah. And then do you prefer standalones, duologies, or trilogies?
Probably standalones, despite writing a 5-part book series.
You're like, I just want to read one, but I'll write a
Yeah.
bunch because there's too
Yeah.
many ideas in my head and they're really great.
Right. Yeah.
So, do you have any upcoming events where we could see you out in the wild?
Yeah, I have lots of, markets and, like, craft fairs and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I'll have information about that and my other, upcoming events on, my social media page as well as on my website.
Is the best way to contact you for readers? Is it Instagram? Is it your email? What's the best route?
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram, rcuthbertson.writes, and then I can also be reached, yeah, at email rcuthbertson.writes@gmail.com.
What is the most difficult thing about writing for you?
Just doing it, like, getting the mindset and, yeah, making sure I'm sitting down and doing it, but there are some definitely emotional scenes that I've written that, even when you're editing, you have to revisit them again and again and again and again, and it's, like, just breaking your heart over and over again, right? So that can be really challenging, and then, yeah, as I mentioned, like, some of those action scenes where there's just so many little balls in the air that you have to make sure everybody's accounted for. It can be
Yeah,
really
you're like, where's
challenging.
their hand? Where's their
Yeah,
lot? Yeah. So then on the
yeah.
flip side, what's the easiest thing for you about writing?
I love writing flora and fauna, like adding the little details of what birds are hopping around the trees and, what smells are in the air, that kind of stuff, which is, doesn't really sound like something that would be your top what you think would be in a zombie book. But yeah, I love those little details that add to the environment.
Well, make it more real, I would think, and then make
Yeah.
it more creepy because then you're like, "Oh, that would really happen. What would it be
Yeah.
like outside?" And yeah, I
Immersive.
probably will have nightmares after reading it. My brain knows it's fake when I'm awake, but then when I'm asleep, it's like, "No, it's not." So,
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah, same.
it'll give me some dreams.
One
So,
of my chapters is actually based on one of my nightmares. So after you've read it, I'll let you know which.
ooh. Ooh, okay. So what what advice do you have for people that are starting out writing or haven't done it or are afraid to write, but they want to?
I would say just keep going. Like it's really daunting in the beginning when you think, "Oh, I have, 60 to 50,000 words to go." It's like just tell your story. You're the only one who can. And, study the craft, read, immerse yourself in other types of storytelling that can inspire you and just see it through.
Yeah. Good advice. So let me go here. So this one's gonna end on a plot hanger.
Yes. Yeah, there is a bit of a
There
yeah,
it is. Okay. Is it a really bad, like, we're gonna have a huge book hangover until your next book?
potentially like yeah, it's hard to tell whether the twins are going into a safety net or something more perilous.
Okay.
It's a little bit of both. So,
Okay.
yeah, I've had a lot of readers reach out and say, "I need book 2," or "I can't wait till book 2," and at first that made me really stressed to hear, but at the same time, like, so honored to hear. But now it just makes me really excited, so,
So
yeah.
time frame do you think we'll get book 2?
My goal is for the end of summer. I have had a bit of a setback with having to go back and change those timelines that I mentioned. Yeah, I'm still feeling confident and hopeful for the end of summer, if not a little bit later this year.
Awesome, so we don't have to wait too long.
Hopefully not.
So in your opinion, what makes a great story?
Something that makes you feel and more than one emotion, like if there's depth to the storytelling, like, I wanna laugh, I wanna cry, I wanna, just feel something and maybe feel like there's a message behind the words as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the most profound or surprising thing you've learned as a writer on your writing journey?
Most profound. I guess, like, how much of ourselves we put into our own works. Like, our characters quite often have these little aspects of us that, we didn't realize until we get it on the page. Like, it can be quite therapeutic to and cathartic to write stories. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like everybody puts in some way, shape, or form, there's a bit of themselves in that story, and that kind of shapes the
Mhm.
story because because a lot of books cross over. There's other zombie books, or there's lots of romance books, but they're all different in their own way. It's because of the person that wrote it brought their life experience to the book. So that's why none of them are ever really the same. There's always something
Exactly.
different, even if they like seem similar.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that saying, like, readers walk a thousand lives, and then writers live a thousand lives because you're living those books as you're writing them. I think that's so cool. That's why I love doing this podcast and having people on, because you're getting an insight about the book. You're seeing the person behind the book that wrote it. Because a lot of the time you don't get to see that. You don't know what their backstory was, or you get like the little Cliff Notes version of it on their author's site, or they share little tidbits, but I like to go and get all the details because I think it just makes the story that much better when you read it. So,
Yeah. Nice to do a deep dive for sure.
yeah, exactly. What is something unique or quirky or a hobby or something like that about you that we maybe don't know?
Yeah, I sort of alluded to it a bit with the fairy wings on the wall. So I'm a fantasy cosplayer. I like to go to the Renaissance fair and things like that. So a quirk about that is my front hallway closet. There's no coats in there. It's all dresses and cloaks and things like that. Yeah, I took it over. Sorry, family. That's my dress closet.
I love that.
It's a
I could
fun
live at the
world.
Ren Fair if it was allowed. I would live there.
Right.
So how do you unwind? Like, after you finished the book, did you just dive right into the second book, or did you take some time?
I took some time. I was beta reading for a friend who's a fellow author after I hit go on the first book. So I took about a month off before I dove into writing book two. And yeah, it was a fun way to kind of approach that sort of analytical side of the mind a little bit more. Yeah,
Yeah.
fun experience.
So, my last question for you is, what message do you want readers to take away from after finishing your book?
I guess it's kind of like a because it was inspired by me thinking like what would you do if or what would I do if this happened where I live?
Mhm.
So, what would you do if, a zombie outbreak or an emergency or whatever happened where you live? Like, are you prepared to survive and stuff? And not to like say I'm like a big prepper or anything like that, but yeah, it's just important to think about those things. And then one of the themes that my main protagonist is faced with repeatedly is making the decision to do what's best for her or kind of her friends or the greater good. So,
Yeah.
um,
It's those paradigm shifts and those questions. Just speaking on that we all need to prepare for a zombie apocalypse, but for an emergency, like you said, because I don't think, as most people out in the world, they don't do that. Where would you go? Do
yeah,
you have, a go bag? Do you have, supplies? Like, if something happens, like, you don't really think
yeah,
about that. So that is a really good message to have at the end of a book like that. Like, not that that would
yeah.
happen, but something could happen. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm excited to read this book. This is going to be my first journey into this genre. So I'm very excited to read it.
Well, thank you so much for having me and happy reading.
Course. Well, thank you. And so, if you like zombie, horror, sci-fi type stories, or you have friends that do, please share her book with them. And please like and subscribe. You can follow her on Instagram. And like I said, you can subscribe here so you can get the next look behind the book. And we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.